Rama Rama Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripadam aham vande Sri Guru Dinataranam Paramanandam Aravam Sri Chaitanyeshwaram Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasnubhyavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So the topic is book distribution, and it is stated in Shastra, Golokera Premadana Harinam Sankirtan. The Sankirtan movement comes directly from the spiritual world. It's the only export product from the spiritual world. And we are very fortunate that we have been blessed with the opportunity, the great privilege to take part in this Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Prabhupada came to this great country in 1965. And with the help of a handful of Americans and Europeans, he spread the Sankirtan movement all over the world in a very short span of 10 years. And now we're still feeling the ripples of this effect that is going on all throughout the world. And we're in a very exciting phase of this Sankirtan movement, because whenever there's transitions or sandhya, then it's actually a time of great opportunity, but it's also, you can say, a time of a bit of tension and turmoil. So we have a generational change that is ahead of us, and we need to prepare properly to do that. And how do we do that? By understanding what is actually our mission, what is actually the purpose, what we're trying to achieve here. I was just on a call with His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu, and we were speaking about how to pass on the leadership, that sometimes people come up with managerial strategies or MBA type of courses where people learn how to use their time more efficiently. But then it's like management or leading from a plateau, because unless you have a clear sense of purpose and mission, all your administrative skills are really of no use whatsoever. So by reading Prabhupada's books, we get a very clear sense of what is that mission? What is it that we're trying to communicate to people? So when I do book distribution seminars, I often make that point that your impact that you have on people is really dependent on the impact that you receive by studying Prabhupada's books and doing inspirational sadhana. Because input versus output, right? That must be some of the laws of, science. So whatever it is that you absorb yourself in, that will influence and determine what you're going to share with others. So if our sharing is not very powerful or not very focused or not very refined, most likely it's because the information that we're consuming may also not be very consistent. We may be reading sometimes, we may be chanting sometimes, but not in a very concentrated, in a very focused way. So we're a rather small group. So instead of giving a big seminar, I just thought to make a few points and then have more time for questions. Is that okay, Bhagavan? All right. So yesterday we went out chanting in front of the Alamo in San Antonio, and we saw how Krishna consciousness is all attractive. People get affected by it. Even though we didn't have a fancy presentation, there was no amplification, there was no big setup, but people got affected by the sweetness of the holy name of the Lord. And they were mesmerized. And then many of them took books, and it was a very congenial experience. At least those of us who were there, we had a good time. And in fact, so much so that all of a sudden you look at your watch and it's 8:30 at night and you're like, hey, it's time to head home. And we were running out of books also. So Krishna is all attractive. What is the art of Sankirtan? The art is try not to get in the way. Try not to obstruct the flow of energy. Krishna has a plan. Jiva Goswami states in the Prayers of the Vedas Personified, the 87th chapter of the 10th canto, that the cause of the universe is compassion. It's the compassion of the Lord. The Lord has given this playground to the living entities to live out their propensities. And at the same time, he appears personally and through the teachers and through Shastra to give people the opportunity to come back to him. So in this great turmoil of the modern times, people are looking for a rope. They're looking for a lifeline. They're looking for something they can latch onto, they can hang on to. So by giving them Prabhupada's books, we're actually handing them that lifeline. You imagine somebody went overboard, like they just dropped off the boat in the middle of the ocean. And what are you going to do? You can't stop the boat. The boat is moving on, but you can throw them a rope, one of those rings with a rope attached to it. And you just tell them, grab onto this and just hold on tight and you'll be okay. We'll get you back in the boat. So that's what book distribution means. We're just trying to get people back in the boat. But that means we have to understand what is the boat, who is the captain, where are we going, so that people are actually inspired, they're motivated, they feel, yeah, this is going somewhere. So the way how we practice personally and the way how we interact with each other and the way how we organize our lives and our centers is very much determining the impact of our outreach. So we have a great opportunity and a great privilege and also a great responsibility to make Krishna consciousness available locally, because it has to be relevant. When Bhaktivinoda Thakur lived in his era, he could not find a copy of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and that's just 400 years after Lord Chaitanya. So that's a travesty. It's a great disaster. And we can see how just in a few generations, things get lost. People don't know anymore what happened a little more than 100 years ago. So preserving this culture through mass distribution is our mission. And we just had the beautiful Bhadra campaign where thousands and thousands of Bhagavatam sets got distributed all over the world. And now there's this campaign for let's do 2 million Gitas. And it's wonderful because we need goals. We need to have a goal, something to look forward to. Otherwise, what is my goal? Eat breakfast and lunch? I mean, what's your goals? So in that goal setting, we ought to make sure that we're in line with the mission and purpose of this ISKCON movement. Srila Prabhupada gave us the 7 purposes of ISKCON. And in the 7th purpose, in the 7th, number 7, he says that to publish and distribute periodicals and books and to distribute them widely. And by doing that, you can achieve all the aforementioned other 6 purposes. That's pretty nifty. That's pretty cool. Because you get like one, you hit one and you get them all. It's like when you have these games. I know you guys don't play games, but just talking to the younger generations, you hit the jackpot and then it's like boom, like all the things that you wanted, you got them just by hitting that one spot. So of course, we also want the centers to thrive. We want to have vibrant communities. We want to have schools and farms, et cetera, but it all comes from understanding what is actually the desire of the Acharya. What did Srila Prabhupada have in mind when he started this ISKCON society? Why did he come? And what is his legacy? So these are some thoughts. I met many very open and kind-hearted people in my last few days, even though I only went out shortly. People are open for this message. I met a lady on a parking lot, and she had a headscarf on, and I asked her where she's from, and she said Pakistan. And as I said, oh no, Pakistan, my God. No, I said, wow, Pakistan. Where? Islamabad, Karachi, Lahore. And she was like, do you know Pakistan? And I said, sure, everybody knows Pakistan. It's great. And I handed her a book, Dharma. And she said, yeah, I would like to make a donation. I said, how much? She said, $50. Oh. And she gave $50 on the credit card, you know? Why? Because I appreciated her. So it's very simple. If you learn the art of appreciating others and validating them, acknowledging them, then they will eat out of the palm of your hand, like the deer, you know, on the trail where we walk every day. So it's not really that complicated. But it means I have to get over myself. I have to get over my own false ego. I got to shed some of that baggage. And that happens when we practice inspirational sadhana, when we discuss the Bhagavatam in the association of other devotees, and we get inspired by their examples of how to live and share Krishna consciousness. So this process is susukam kartum avyayam. It is joyfully performed. If you're not feeling blissful, if you're not feeling ecstatic right now, you're not Krishna conscious, because Krishna consciousness is all bliss. It's all happiness. Krishna is all blissful. So that should be the motto of this month or of this marathon, because right now we're in a very advantageous position. It's a special time, so there is not like any particular quota or notion or that we say, hey, I got to do this much or that much. Just be blissful. How about that for a plan? So can you do that? Can you be blissful? I think, yes, we can. It is possible. It's just a matter of actually letting go of our preconceived mental imagery. And then Krishna, Tesham Satati Yuktanam Bhajatam Pritipurvakam Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yenamam Upayanti Te. Then Krishna, who is in the heart of every living entity, will give you the intelligence, the knowledge, the remembrance, and the forgetfulness to make the right choices in order to navigate and in order to be relevant to the people. So that means not speak high convoluted ideas and concepts or philosophy, but to be actually audible and relatable to the people that we meet. So meeting them eye to eye, where they're at, without an inferiority complex, without a superiority complex, without that's really weird one, a mixture of inferiority and superiority at the same time, which really freaks you out. One place people ask me, what is that mixture between? It's like, I want everything you have and I hate you for it, you know? That's like that mixture. I want everything that you have because it looks attractive, it looks interesting, but I despise you, I hate you because you have it. So it really ruins relationships. But we just have to appreciate people and understand everyone's struggling. Right now we are in this difficult time, but it's actually a great opportunity. Never waste a good crisis. You can go up to anybody and just ask them, how are you doing? We're just out here to meet people and ask them, how are you doing? Not buy this, do that, be part of my group, believe in this, I want to convert you. Yesterday, we met about 12 Christian groups who were all, you know, passing out little flyers about this size, you know. And I was like, guys, you know, there's been already 10 guys before you, you know, have a whole stack of all their literature. All people want to know is one thing. How are you gonna increase my quality of life? What's your value added benefit? What am I getting out of this? More grief, more self-righteousness, more baggage, more noise. People are sick and tired of that stuff. But to find somebody who is sensible, who is audible, who is relatable and relevant, that's truly inspiring. So Bhakti Sibhushan works. It's our sadhana, and it helps us to actually go deeper in our own Krishna consciousness. And then whether you distribute 5 or 10 books or 100 or 10 million books, that's a detail. No. So that's as much as I wanted to share, and I like to open it up for questions. I have found that whenever you put books and Harinam together, it's like magic. It just, the two of them, it's like you mix rice and dal, you eat them together, you get 42% more protein, more nutrition than if you eat them separately. So it's the perfect combo. If you also mix prasadam in there, then you actually get nuclear fusion. You can blow people out of the water. They don't know what hit them. They get really struck by lightning. And it's a wonderful thing to see how people get touched by this potency of the Sankirtan movement. And Srila Prabhupada, as our founder Acharya, he devised a perfect plan how to administrate the medicine in an attractive way. Because Prabhupada was a pharmacist. You know, pharmacists, they're very meticulous, they're very precise, they're very exact. Because if they're not, then people die. And it's kind of a bad business if your customers die. So Prabhupada gave us this foolproof, this very sure formula. And we should just stick to it and not tamper with the formula. We should not self-medicate. We see so many people are roaming around in the big supermarket of spirituality and even of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And they want to take a little here, a little there, a little this, a little that. And then they end up with indigestion and they go belly up. They just, they just don't make it. Why? Because they have self-medicated. They have just taken a mix that was not conducive for them. So we should stick to Prabhupada's formula and rack our brains how we can make it relatable, how we can communicate it in an attractive way. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Now is the time.
Would anybody like to share anything? Questions, realizations, reflections on distributing books?
Usually we go for half an hour, but we can go for a little longer if depending on the need. Yes,
Okay.
Paramakaran.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Please accept my most humble obeisances as your divine lotus feet, Navina Prabhu or Krishna Prabhupada.
My pranams.
Prabhuji, question is that sometimes when we're distributing books, and it happens that for at least an hour or two, nobody gives donations, and we keep the books flying. And I heard in one of your lectures that when the books, and Alex once told me when he joined the van, that you mentioned that when let the books fly away and Prabhupada will take care of it. Something like that. Or can you put more light on that subject? How we should approach with our consciousness when the books are flying, donations are not coming, and we want the books to fly, how we should tune our consciousness.
Yeah, thank you, Param. Sometimes when you jumpstart a car, you have to take some drastic measures, like you have to get behind it and push it. And it's a little artificial and it's a little strenuous. So sometimes if I want to jumpstart my distribution, I just hand out a few books. I just try to make contact with people. I'm not too headstrong about, okay, how much am I going to get? How much donation I will receive? Just be generous. Just be kind. Don't worry. Krishna has got you covered. There's enough resources out there. Would you agree there is enough resources in this world?
I trust your words, Prabhu. Trust me. You're so confident.
But Krishna also sometimes wants to test us because it's his job to help us improve our game. So when he sees that we're attached to results, we're attached to Lakshmi, we want to count the big bills, the big donations, then he'll send you a lot of people who say, oh yeah, I'll give you $1, but I want the big one. And you say, yes, thank you, Krishna. No problem. Take the big one, give me that $1. It's fine. Because what is it to us? At the end of the day, we eat our 2 meals and we're happy. So just put the books out. And you'll be surprised how at the end of the day, at the end of the week, you always have more than enough. But initially, that little bit of anxiety, that little bit of poke and jab is there. And that's good. It's purifying. Krishna is showing us where our shortcomings, where our attachments lie. So, abhyasena vairagena, constant practice and philosophical understanding will help us to overcome these pitfalls. Whatever it is that our pitfall may be, we may be attached to score, we may be attached to money, we may be attached to fame. You do something great, and guess what? Nobody even notices. Nobody even mentions it. In fact, they'll give credit to somebody else, or they criticize you. And that's very purifying. Why? Because we have to let go of some of those attachments and preconceived notions. So that's Krishna's mercy. So see it as mercy and just keep on moving forward. And usually it's just a short phase when this happens. And then after a while, you get in and you start surrendering. And then things start moving more organically. But initially, when you jumpstart the process, there may be a little bit of, a little bit of tension, a little bit of shaking, a little bit of a few obstacles that come up. That is to be expected. So don't get discouraged by that. You have seen it. Just like Brahma, when he had to create the universe, he performed tapasya, and then Krishna came and shook his hand and said, "Thank you very much." And he told a very beautiful verse that's there in the Bhagavatam. He said, "Don't be anxious and don't be depressed. Whatever you're praying for has already been granted so many times." So in a similar way, Krishna is telling to all of us Sankirtan devotees, don't be anxious, don't be depressed. Whatever you're praying for, it has already been granted so many times. Just get on with it. Just take yourself out of the center and just be an instrument. And I'm sure you have already experienced that so many times, but I'm just reconfirming your observations. Hare Krishna.
No, it's such an amazing explanation you gave, and the way you added your point, that I read this chapter so many times, but I never gone so deep in understanding that Krishna told to Brahma and how Brahma was anxious. Lord Brahma was anxious. I never understood that. Wow, even Lord Brahmaji
He was anxious because it's a big job. It's a daunting task to create the universe and all the life forms. It's a daunting task to go out and talk to strangers and try to connect them to Krishna consciousness. But if we understand that in the instruction, the potency, the empowerment is already contained. It's an all-in-one formula that's being handed to us. Okay, we got another. Do you have any success formula? Yes. When we asked our Sankirtan leader back in the day, Rohini Sutta Prabhu, what's the formula? And he said, when you're tired, you take rest. When you're hungry, you take prasad. And then you go out and you distribute like mad. So that's the success formula. Now you get up early and you sit down and you chant your 16 rounds without getting up, without any distractions. And you make sure you read at least 1 hour of Prabhupada's books every day. Preferably also early on in the day. And then you can do something later on during the day also. And in this way, you will always be very much in tune with Prabhupada's mood, with his intention. And then whatever comes out of your mouth, even though it's, "Hi, how are you doing today? Very nice to meet you." Subtly, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Subtly, what you have studied, what you have read, what you have chanted has an influence on the quality of your sound vibration. And it will touch people's hearts. It will penetrate all their coverings and go straight to the soul. So the success formula is to fail forward fast and not hold back and just take that leap of faith and connect yourself with this Sankirtan process, and then let Krishna do the magic. He can empower you. He can do wonderful things. in mitar matram bhavyasavya sachin, you just become my instrument. Krishna has already declared it. The victory has already been declared. Param vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtan. It's not a question if there will be victory. The only question is, will I be part of that victory? And that choice we all have to make. Not just once when we became a devotee or when we took initiation, but that choice is ours every single moment of the day. Do I want to go off and do my thing, or do I want to do Krishna's thing? And that's the secret of success. And that's why Srila Prabhupada was singled out by his Gurudev, because he heard very attentively. He said he will speak very nicely because he has heard very attentively. And that's why his preaching is so powerful, so potent. So how attentive are we in listening to the instructions of the spiritual master? Then that will influence the quality of our outreach. So if I'd say that that's a success formula, yes, that is. And also to understand Samyak Kirtan, it's a combined effort. It's a team effort. I don't care how many books you distribute. What I want to know is, how is Team San Antonio doing? How is Team Austin doing? How is Team Dallas doing? How is Team Houston doing? It's a team effort. You can't win alone. It's not me against the rest of the world or the universe. That's a fight you can't win. Brahma is part of our parampara. And he was reminded of that by Krishna personally. So whenever we think it's just me and I'm so insignificant and vulnerable, we have to be reminded that we are just one small entity, but we're part of this great tradition. So always see the connection, always see the line that's behind us. Then that will give you great confidence and great potency to carry out your service. Other questions?
Yeah, it's frustrating, especially during these lockdown times. Now it's a little bit open, but still, most devotees or most people in general are a little bit kind of, I don't know, wouldn't say paranoid, but apprehensive about going out, meeting people, talking to strangers. We're stuck with this online Zoom thing. I mean, what's a way that we can distribute virtually? What's a way? I know that Vaisheshika Prabhu has a very strong yatra and they come together. Maybe we should tune in with his yatra and just go that way, where they do a whole Zoom call together. But I mean, it's just not the same. So how do you respond to that?
Well, it's a material world, which means it's never going to be ideal. Prabhupada told his Guru Maharaj, first we got to get rid of the British, and then we can do this Krishna consciousness thing. But his Guru Maharaj said, no, this can't wait. We have to do this right now. So it's never going to be perfect, because perfect is utopia in the material world. So you do a bit of the Zoom thing, you do a bit of the online distribution, then you do Harinam. Then you go out to parks and colleges, you go to farmers markets, parking lots. There's so many ways how to distribute books. We can also see right now is a very good time to really have a little bit of time to think and to strategize. Okay, how is it that I can improve my game? Where am I lagging behind? Where is there room for improvement? So to do that, diligently is very important. Sometimes we get too conditioned. Either I'm going to do this the way I want to do it, or I'm not going to do it at all. Either I'm going to be number one, or I'm not playing the game. And that means we haven't really understood what the game is. The game is Sankirtan. And that means Krishna is pleased by the sincerity and the dedication of his devotees. So the scores are always different. The scores, it's not up to us. So don't get attached. We become so fixated because we're living in this capitalistic, expedient world that I need to see result. And then I can feel, I'm lovable. I'm doing something. Prabhupada tried many things. Not everything worked. Some things didn't work. Some things produced negative result. Like when they churned the milk ocean, initially poison came out. So don't let yourself be fooled by these obstacles, and just try to make
one who does this service.
well, the special benefit is that you get the mercy of the spiritual master and the Guru Parampara. That's a pretty good start. Yasyadeve parabhaktirya tadeve tatagurau tasyaite katita hyarta prakashante mahatmana. If you somehow please Guru, then all the imports, all the meanings, all the tenets of the Vedic wisdom will become revealed in your heart. The zip file will get unzipped and everything will just manifest. That's pretty cool. I'm not saying you don't have to learn verses anymore. I'm not saying you don't have to read books anymore. But if all that stuff would actually just like become realized, that would be pretty nice. That would be pretty nifty. And that's possible when we do something to please Guru. And how to please Guru? Become a lover of Krishna. What does it mean, be a lover of Krishna? It means do Krishna's bidding, do his mission, do his service. Extend yourself out of comfort zone. Take that leap of faith. Hand people a book. Give them a flyer. Go out and chant. Spread the Sankirtan movement. So that's the benefit we get. And then as a byproduct, Bhakti Pareshanu Bhavo Virakti Ranyatraschat. Chaisha Trisha Eka Kala Pratabhyan Yatashna Tashyus Tushti Pushti Kshut Apayonu Ghasam. As a byproduct, your fear and anxiety goes away. As a byproduct, your confusion will dissipate. As a byproduct, you will become happy and nourished and blissful. But the actual goal is you please Guru and Krishna. Then all of your needs are automatically taken care of. How about that?
Sounds good.
And it's not an exaggeration, because we know that everything happens through watering the root of the tree. Yatataror mulani sechanena tripyanti tatskanda bujopashaka pranopaharach chetendriyanam tataiva sarvarnam achyuteja. That you can simply by pleasing Krishna, Achyuta, everyone becomes satisfied. Just like giving food to stomach or giving water on the root, everybody becomes nourished and satisfied. You try it out. I mean, I know you have been doing it, otherwise you wouldn't be devotees. But sometimes we forget and we think, oh, I need to get a job. I need to do this. I need to take care of myself. But actually, all I need to do is I need to satisfy Krishna. And then Krishna will give you the intelligence to do the needful. Maybe, yes, some people need to get a job. Some people need to do certain things. But the most important job is how to take care of the mission of the spiritual master. And that will really propel you. That will change your trajectory. And in this way, you can change your destiny. It's possible. And we have seen it. We have seen it. It sounds like scary, but actually it's quite inspiring, because from a material point of view, we're stuck with our karmic spreadsheet. We're stuck in our box, on our level. But if we volunteer and we say, yeah, I would like to try this out, then all of a sudden, you get fast track promotion. You get a whole different traction in your spiritual life. Other questions?
I have one. One of the biggest kind of issues I think we face in Sankirtan as a movement is follow-up. Practical ways of follow-up.
Yes.
Maintain relationships. We always hear pump out the books. Why? I have a two-part question. Practical ways of having relationships built through follow-up and book distribution. Part two, why is this not emphasized as much as the distribution of the literature within our movement? So we have
Sure. So I started with number two. oftentimes it's because we have this short-sightedness. We're so result-oriented, which means how many books, how much money, and we're just focused on the immediate numbers. Yet we don't see that you take care of the people and that the people will take care of you. Like you cultivate relationships, you'll build your team, you build your army, they will do whatever you want them to do. But if there is no team and there's no relationships, then our impact will be very limited, will be very small. So that's for number 2. Number 1, well, it starts with practical things. First of all, bring a pen. When you go out on Sankirtan, bring a pen and a paper so you can write down people's contacts or you can write your contact. Bring invitation cards. I don't want to say what was missing yesterday because you already know. But you have to have invitation cards. You have to have flyers. You have to be able to connect. Prabhupada told them they had to get that 22nd Avenue, that board with the little white letters that they could stick in the window, and it was kind of horrendously expensive, like $30 or something. Prabhupada said, get it, he spent the money, even though it seemed like outrageous amount back in the day. So we have to spend that money and that effort. And then actually seeing the opportunity. Okay, I would like to meet this person again. We want to stay in touch. And then calling up the person. It's not enough to delegate it to some temple secretary or somebody, because then somebody calls, and it's a completely different mood than the mood that they got from you. And they get confused. They often just drop the ball because they need. Why do people go to fast food places? Because it's a consistent experience. Customers want a consistent experience and a consistent product. So if we learn how to deliver that, people will just come back continuously, because they know you got the goods, you got the stuff. So get the tools, know how to use them, consistent quality interaction. The same person that actually met them first does the follow-up, at least initially. Later on, you may hand them over, like I meet a girl on the street and she's really interested. I take her contact, I invite her. Then as soon as she comes to the center, I'll connect her with one of the ladies who is there, and then I'll let her take over. You understand? But if I take the contact and then I give that contact to somebody else, and then all of a sudden it's another voice and another mood, and the people are like, what? It's just some telemarketing scam, just some other person who tries to sell me something. So there has to be consistency and seeing that opportunity. I was telling in my seminar with the German devotees yesterday that one time in Switzerland in 85, I was going door to door, and there was big houses and big fences and big dogs. And it was really hard. And I was a new bhakta. I'd just been in the movement for about a year or so. Well, one lady, she took 3 books, and she mentioned that her nephew had been to India. So I said, yeah, give me his contact. And, that was back in the day, and Switzerland. So people weren't paranoid, like, this is confidential information. I can't give you this. Or I have to ask him first. So she gave me the number, and I called him. And a couple of weeks later, he showed up with his friend on a Sunday feast. And they both had long hair and red glazy eyes, and they were completely stoned out of their heads because they just smoked pot before coming to the temple. And they said, we've already been to India. They were a bit snazzy, but yeah, you can show us your thing. So I showed them the whole temple. And at the end, me, happy-go-lucky, Bhakta Nico, I said, okay, they're already here. So I lined up all the books. And they just said, we're taking it, bag it. And they just put a few big bills on the table, and they walked off with the Bhagavatam set. And then I didn't hear from them for a few months. But I kept loosely in touch. And then one time they came on a Sunday, and Bhakti Charu Maharaj was there. And his talk just blew them out of the water. You know, it just, bang, it just hit them right on the spot. And they started practicing seriously, and they turned their big estate where they were living into a center. And all their friends became affected by Krishna consciousness. And from that, about 15 people got initiated by Bhakti Charu Maharaj, and at least another 20 started practicing. So you may think, oh, what does it matter that I take that phone number from that, you know, wealthy lady in that house? Yeah, it does matter. You know, when Prabhupada gave a program in Agra at a Mr. Agarwal's house, he mentioned that his son Gopal was somewhere in America, in Pennsylvania, and he got bamboozled by a white woman, and he married a white girl, and the dad was really upset about that. And Prabhupada said, all his lights went on, you know, America, an Agarwal in America, give me his contact, write to him, and the rest is history. Now we're here sitting in San Antonio, you know, why? Because Prabhupada saw the opportunity. So in a similar way, we have to see the opportunity because the power is there, the potency is there. Have you ever touched a live wire? It's kind of a rhetorical question. Did you ever get the bus being electrocuted? So if you get in touch with Guru Parampara, there is some effect. There is something that happens in your life. And if not, it means either you're very covered or very dull, or there is no potency in your process. But there is a lot of potency. So make the arrangements and execute. And don't get sidetracked by short-sighted, fruitive mentality that I just need to be able to count the numbers and the money today. Like a farmer, there is a time for plowing, there's a time for sowing, there's a time for weeding, there's a time for watering, and then there's a time for harvesting. A farmer is not insecure. He's not thinking like, oh, why would I waste my time, you know, for 6 months? No, he knows I'll harvest in the fall. It's a known fact. Why? Because he has faith in the process. So if we have faith in the process, we apply ourselves diligently, we'll know. Like here, you're sitting on a gold mine, Texas, one of the best states in the country. People still have some values. There's some culture. There's some piety there. I always had my best days. I remember in Dallas on Warped Tour, the 355 books just down the road from the temple. Just 5 minutes from the temple is that venue. So there's a great opportunity. What are we making of it? Are we seeing the deficiency or are we seeing the opportunity? So follow-up is often neglected or not really properly understood. Or we think we can only do cultivation. No, you have to keep on planting. You have to keep on putting seeds out there. You have to keep on, you know, a farmer, he does everything. It's a full cycle and it has to go on simultaneously. And if you feel this is too much work or I can't do it all, then build your team. Build up your network and have different people who put the word out. Use your intelligence. I mean, what's the use of being American if you can't do something wonderful for Krishna? Use your ingenuity to spread Krishna consciousness on all the platforms. You know, you got to fire on all different fronts. How to do it in your workplace or with your non-devotee friends. Well, in your workplace, you have to be a little bit discreet because you can't just be, you know, full-on gung-ho, all-out preacher Hare Krishna, unless you try to lose your job very fast. So you have to be a little diplomatic. Everyone appreciates prasadam. People appreciate a gift. You can give out a few books like that. And then you see whoever responds favorably, you cultivate them and you establish connection. You may invite them to a program or to your home and you just go according to the opportunity and to the situation. Same with non-devotee friends or colleagues or relatives. You just befriend them, you just give them prasadam, you may give them a book, and then you see if they respond, then you give them a little more. But you have to know how to dose it. You know, like when you go and you water the garden, you don't just pour a ton of water and then the plants get flooded and they can't really grow like that. You have to be considerate and you have to know how much they can take. And every plant has a different capacity. Some plants, you can pour it on like in buckets and they thrive. And others, you can only give them a little something every other week. Otherwise, they'll die. So we have to recognize the capacity of different individuals. And how do we recognize that? Krishna is in your heart. If you practice inspirational sadhana, Krishna will give you the intelligence to know how much to push and how much and when to hold back or to back off. And it's a fine line. Even when we do Sankirtan, it's a fine line. Initially, first contact, okay, you have to make connection. But then you have to back off. Otherwise, they're like, whoa, hey, get out of my face, step away. So initially, okay, there's a little bit of aggressiveness. Then, okay, ease off. Be cool. Have a nice little discussion. All right, put the book in their hand. It's, again, a little intrusive. Then, no, it's all fine. It's all good. Look at it. It's okay. Just get attached to it. Browse. Then you ask a few questions. Then again, okay, give the donation. All right. So it's a constant, it's like dancing, It's a constant. So that is positive tension. And positive tension builds up your inner strength and your dependence on Krishna and your faith in the process, because Krishna does the magic and he will bring people closer. That's his forte. That's his prerogative. So to understand, I'm not the doer. It's not about me and it's not just me doing this, but I'm just trying to help people out and they will respond favorably. Any other points or questions?
I mean, book distribution's an adventure, especially when you're traveling, or you never know. There's no understanding of what's going to happen next. One minute you could be getting a death threat. The next minute you're getting embraced. The next minute you're getting ridiculed. The next minute somebody just takes a whole Bhagavatam set. And I feel that's Krishna consciousness, is that it's an adventure. You go along for the ride. And if it's not, then we have to fine tune things. I mean, at the height of book distribution, you're just completely liberated. You can get killed and you're completely comfortable with that because you're doing the most perfect activity in the world. So I really appreciate that point of being tied into the wire, the hot wire. It really made me feel like that's outreach. That's missionary work. It's just feeling like, hey, let's go along for the ride and see what happens.
Yeah, thank you for that realization, Bhagavan Narad. And if you don't feel that connection, maybe on my side there is some contamination. Maybe my wire is not open, Maybe I'm not open. Maybe I'm covered by my muck, And I need to do a little more of that cleansing, of that purification. And yeah, sometimes it's painful. Sometimes it's excruciating. Sometimes there's some tears. But I have to feel that connection, that dependency, that the potency is there. It's absolutely indispensable. Otherwise, you think you're in the Hare Krishna movement, but you actually not. You've never joined. You never really gotten that taste of what it means. What did Prabhupada feel when he stepped off the Jaladuta? If you want to know that, you have to pick up his Bhagavatam and go out and just don't know whether I'm going left or right and just start talking to people. Prabhupada didn't know which way to turn. He was walking in New York City sometimes. He didn't have money to buy food to have dinner. and he's walking around in the winter in New York. He doesn't know where rent is going to come from. He doesn't know if he has to go back to India. It's completely dependent on Krishna. You just make me dance. I'm just a puppet. I'm an instrument. He had the vision. He knew there will be temples, there will be devotees, there will be books. But how is it going to manifest? He didn't have it all figured out. And that's the Prabhupada I worship. That's the Prabhupada who touches my heart. Not the one who came down on a swan airplane and, he wrote a few books and then he departed. No. The Prabhupada who struggled, the Prabhupada who tried and who failed, that's the Prabhupada who I worship. That's the Prabhupada who I can relate to. So Prabhupada, as the Acharya, he has given us his own example. So when I read this chapter, Crying Alone in the Wilderness, it resonates with me. I feel like this speaks to me. And yes, there will be big temples and big festivals and people are throwing flowers and this and that, but that doesn't speak to me so much, I was born and brought up in the Catholic tradition and it didn't give me the buzz. I didn't feel that this is what I need to be doing. Other people already did that hundreds and thousands of years ago. And I don't want to be just a stand-in in someone else's movie. I want to be down in the action. I want to be a life recipient of that potency. That's why we're here talking to this small group of subversive renegade, revolutionaries who want to make a difference, because that's what society needs. And we have to also understand that change never comes from the core. It always comes from the periphery. That's where change happens. That's where innovation happens. And yes, the movement is turning into an institution and into a church on the core. And that's the way how things work. But if you want to stay in sweet surrender zone, stay in Sankirtan consciousness. How can I have impact? How can I make a difference? And not belittle or despise others. Some are more comfortable in the core. Some are more comfortable in admin. Others are more comfortable in this position, in that position. But we have to know for ourselves what works for me. Just like the food that you eat, you have to eat it. It has to be agreeable to your taste. Nobody can tell you. So Prabhupada is very kind. He has given us unlimited opportunities, a lifetime of service or lifetimes of service. It's just a matter of figuring out how can we do this together? How can we help and support and encourage each other so that our own people don't jump off the boat or they start, try to hijack the boat or go out in one of them little, inflatable boats and try to fight the sharks and the whales. And get killed. It's stupid. So we should not get sidetracked. We should always be mindful. What is really our mission? And it's Sankirtan, Samyak Kirtan. How to make everyone feel part of this mission. There is room for everyone, even for unqualified people like myself. And Prabhupada has got service for us. He said, I want to spread Krishna consciousness everywhere at once. That's a pretty big order. It's a pretty tall mission. I feel everybody can find their place in the mission of Prabhupada. And Prabhupada already did all the revolutionary adjustments. If we understand the principle and the detail, then we know how to navigate and how to be relatable and relevant to our audience. So we're very grateful to have this opportunity. And right now, this crisis is giving us another great opportunity, especially as the world is looking towards America always as a leader. What's happening there? And they're copying it for the better or for the worse. So what are we going to give him? All sorts of confusion and distractions Are we going to give him more Mickey Mouse? Are we giving more drama? Or are we going to actually show them something inspirational, something meaningful, something truly life-changing? So thank you for dedicating your lives to the Sankirtan mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It may seem like there's only a few of us, but actually it's not true. There is unlimited Sankirtan devotees all over the world, on every continent, and you are making a difference in your own lives, in the lives of people, and certainly in my life, because I feel meaning and purpose. I feel a sense of identity and a mission. And that's what everyone is looking for out there. People are sick and tired of all the propaganda and all the lies and all the slogans. They're sick and tired of it. People want substance. They want to feel, where is something meaningful, something vibrant, something truly satisfactory. And that can only be Sri Krishna Sankirtan. Krishna Varnam Tusha Krishnam Sangopanga Shaparshadam Yagyai Sankirtana Prayayar Yajantihi Sumedasa. If you got a brain, engage in Sankirtan. If you want to get a brain, engage in Sankirtan. So thank you for your kind attention and participation. We'll have a small retreat today and try to help people to appreciate Krishna consciousness more. And always carry books with you. Never leave house without it. Make sure you have books in your car, at your office, in your purse. And whenever somebody smiles at you or does something nice to you, you give them a book. We have 1 million members. If everyone distributes one book a day, that's 365 million books. That's 40 times more books than we're doing right now. That's not a bad start. Would you agree? And we can do that if every person just distributes one book a day. A book a day keeps Maya away. So keep reading, keep sharing, keep distributing, and you will see how this taste will increase and will become exponentially sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. And you will hear Krishna's flute. You will see the magic. I go on Sankirtan because I want to see the Krishna magic. I want to see how Krishna is just attracting people and affecting their lives. I had a lady yesterday who just stood there with a book in her hand, and she kind of lost track of time and place. Sometimes you have these moments, where you feel like this is a classic, picture. Put that in a time warp, and just picture it and hang it up on the wall, They're just like, wow. And we can witness that when for the first time in eons, they turn back towards Krishna and appreciate Krishna. Oh, I can. Then they give a donation, and at the end they say, oh, I can keep this? They thought they're just giving money for some cause, and you just show them the book in order to, induce them. But then, I can keep this? That's always funny. I always crack up when I hear that. So Krishna has a great sense of humor because he is the supreme prankster. And so Sankirtan is a whole lot of fun. If you want to have fun in life and experience the magic and excitement of Krishna consciousness, please engage in Sankirtan, and you will see how your quality of life will increase and all your worries will go away. I'm not saying that your mortgage and your debt and all these other things will take care of themselves, but all I'm saying is this is what makes a difference in the world, and this is what works. Sankirtan is what works. So if we focus on what works, then what doesn't work becomes manageable. It becomes tolerable. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. And never think that your one book doesn't make a difference, because that one book can bring down an empire. It can crush a materialistic mindset or civilization. Revolutions have started by books. They're sustained by books. And they will turn into whole new cultures simply based on books. So we're very fortunate. We got the Bhagavatam, the Gita, the CC. We got all these beautiful books by Prabhupada and the Association of Devotees. So thank you for giving your time and attention and trying to create teams wherever you are. And in this way, know it for a fact, there is no better way to spread Krishna consciousness than through the distribution of these books. Prabhupada said that when I see a new book published, I feel like I've conquered an empire. If you want to make me live forever, then distribute my books. These books are my devotional ecstasies. If you want to know me, read my books. I have only one criticism to my followers. They do not read my books enough. So these are all direct statements by a founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. So thank you very much. All goes to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.